The screen door slammed like a gunshot in the dead of night, echoing across the empty cornfields of rural Illinois. "You're no son of mine." Dad's voice boomed from the kitchen, raw and venomous, as if he'd been saving those words for years. Ethan bolted past me on the porch, his backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes wild with the kind of fear that sticks to your ribs forever. Mine included. I was 18, fresh out of high school, the good brother who played football, dated the cheerleader, and kept my head down in our Bible-thumping town of Willow Creek. Ethan was 2 years younger, the artist with paint under his nails and secrets in his sketchbook. We'd grown up sharing a room, whispering dreams under the covers while the house creaked like it was judging us. That night, everything shattered when Dad found the letters. Notes from Ethan's first boyfriend, hidden in a shoebox under his bed. "Faggot," Dad spat, the word landing like a slap I felt in my bones. Mom just stood there, wringing her apron, her silence louder than any scream. Ethan didn't fight back. He never did. He just grabbed his stuff and ran, the gravel crunching under his sneakers as he vanished into the dark. I stood frozen on the porch, heart pounding like a war drum, watching taillights that weren't even there yet because he didn't have a car. Dad turned to me, his face purpled with rage, expecting solidarity. "You heard me, Jake. That boy's dead to this family. Gone." His eyes bored into mine, daring me to disagree. I nodded, throat tight, because what else could I do? But as he stormed back inside, muttering about God's wrath and family honor, something ignited in me. A slow burn, quiet as the fireflies blinking in the yard. I stayed, not out of loyalty to them but to Ethan. He was out there somewhere, probably hitchhiking toward Chicago with $20 and a broken heart, and I couldn't let that be the end. Our family wasn't just conservative. It was a fortress of lies. Dad preached fire and brimstone at the local church every Sunday, railing against sodomites while shaking hands with the mayor. Mom baked pies for the women's auxiliary, all smiles and scripture quotes. But I'd seen the cracks. Late-night whispers on the phone, Dad's business trips to the city that lasted too long. The way Mom's eyes glazed over when she thought no one was looking. If they could cast out their own blood for loving who he loved, what else were they hiding? I'd make them pay, not with screams or fists, but with truth. The kind that crumbles empires from the inside. The next morning, the house felt hollow, like a drum without a beat. Breakfast was silent, pancakes stacked high but untouched. Dad shoveled food in, newspaper folded to the sports page, pretending normalcy. "Jake, you start at the mill today. Keep your nose clean, son. We're all that's left now." His voice was gruff, but there was a plea in it, a crack in the armor. I mumbled agreement, fork scraping the plate, my mind racing. Ethan had texted once before his phone died. "Chicago. Safe. Don't come." But I knew better. He was crashing on couches, scraping by, and Willow Creek's gossip mill was already churning. The preacher's boy, a queer? Lord's mercy. Work at the lumber mill was backbreaking, sawdust in your lungs and the whine of machines drowning out thought. But it gave me cover. Evenings, I'd slip into Dad's study, the room smelling of pipe tobacco and old books. His desk was a shrine to respectability. Framed sermons, a photo of us boys at 10, grinning gap-toothed on the farm. But in the bottom drawer, locked with a key he kept on his chain, I found the first thread. Letters, yellowed and tied with twine, addressed to a JD in Springfield. Dad's handwriting on the envelopes, postmarked 20 years back. I didn't read them that night, too risky, with Mom's footsteps creaking upstairs, but I snapped photos on my burner phone, the one I'd bought with mill cash, untraceable. Nights blurred into a routine of deception. I'd laugh at Dad's jokes over dinner, nod at his rants about family values on the evening news, all while piecing together the puzzle. Ethan called once a week from a library computer, voice thin but steady. "I'm okay, Jake. Got a job at a coffee shop. Sketching again." I'd lie in bed after, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a map to nowhere, vowing to get him back here. Not to forgive, but to watch it all burn. Willow Creek was small, 2,000 souls strong, where everyone knew your sins before you did. The church picnic came, and there they were. Dad on the grill, Mom serving lemonade, folks whispering behind cupped hands. Poor Reverend Hale, losing a boy to the devil. I smiled through it, teeth gritted, but inside, the fire roared. It was on a muggy July afternoon, sweat soaking my shirt as I hauled lumber, that I met him, Micah. He was the new guy, transferred from the Chicago yard, with sun-bleached hair and arms like coiled rope from years on rigs. "Jake Hale?" he said, extending a hand rough as bark. "Heard you're the preacher's kid. Name's Micah Ruiz." His grip was firm, eyes green as the fields after rain, and something in his easy grin made my stomach flip. Not fear, not quite, but a spark I hadn't felt since Ethan's laughter filled our room. We worked side by side that shift, trading stories over the roar of saws. He was from the city, out and proud, with a tattoo of a phoenix on his forearm peeking from his sleeve. "Family disowned me too," he said casually, wiping sweat. "But hey, Phoenix rises, right?" I laughed it off, but his words lodged like splinters. After work, he invited me for beers at O'Malley's, the dive on the edge of town where truckers nursed drafts and jukebox country twanged. I almost said no, too close to home, but the pull was magnetic. The bar was dim, neon flickering, and over cheap lagers Micah opened up. Lived the lie for years. Dad was a cop, Mom a teacher. One argument too many and poof, gone. Now I fix what's broken for a living. He clinked his bottle to mine. "What about you, golden boy of Willow Creek?" I shrugged, staring at the foam. Just trying to hold it together. But as the night wore on, the beer loosening my tongue, I spilled it. Ethan's flight, the letters, the quiet war brewing. Micah listened, head tilted, no judgment in those eyes. "Sounds like you're carrying the world, Jake. Ever think about what you want?" His knee brushed mine under the table, accidental maybe, but the heat lingered. I pulled back, heart hammering, blaming the alcohol. Straight guys didn't feel like this, did they? Back home, the house slept, but I didn't. I unlocked Dad's desk again, heart in my throat, and unfolded a letter. "My dearest Jay, the nights without you are endless. Springfield feels like a cage. Come back to me before they find out. Signed, your Robert, Dad's college roommate, a man." My hands shook as I photographed it, the pieces slotting like a lock tumbler. Hypocrite. The fire in my chest wasn't just for Ethan anymore. It was personal, a mirror cracking. Weeks turned to months, the harvest moon rising fat over the silos. Micah became a fixture, work buddy, bar companion, the one person who saw through my mask. We'd drive his beat-up truck to the quarry's edge, beers in hand, watching stars prick the velvet sky. "You're not like them, Jake," he'd say, voice low. "I see it. The way you fight for your brother, that's love. Real love." His hand on my shoulder once, lingering, and I didn't shrug it off. Instead, I leaned in, the scent of him, pine and motor oil, filling my lungs. What was this? Fear? Desire? Both? Ethan's updates grew brighter. Art classes at community college, a roommate who baked. But Willow Creek tightened its noose. Dad's sermons sharpened. The wages of sin. He'd thunder, eyes scanning the pews like he owned souls. Mom withdrew, her pies turning to ash in my mouth. I gathered more, bank statements showing withdrawals to charity that traced to a Springfield P.O. box, voicemails on an old phone I'd cloned. Dad's voice, trembling, pleading with Robert for forgiveness. Proof piled like cordwood. Photos, recordings, emails from a hidden account. Quiet revenge, yes, but Micah made it bearable. One crisp fall night, under a blanket of leaves, he kissed me, soft, tentative by the truck's tailgate. The world tilted, and I kissed back, tasting salt and freedom. "I've wanted this," he whispered. "Got me too. But secrets fester." Dad cornered me one evening, Bible in hand. "Jake, I've seen you with that Ruiz boy. He's troubled, like your brother." His eyes narrowed, suspicion coiling. I lied smoothly, but the seed was planted. Micah and I stole moments. A hand held in the dark, whispers of futures beyond cornfields. Love, raw and uncharted, bloomed amid the thorns. Yet the noose tightened. Ethan's birthday came. I sent cash, a note. Soon. Justice. Micah held me that night, his arms a harbor. Whatever comes, I'm with you. Winter bit early, snow dusting the mill like powdered regret. I'd compiled it all. A dossier in a locked box under my bed. Letters, finances, a timeline of Dad's double life. Robert was real. I'd found him online, a widower in Springfield, heartbroken still. One call, anonymous. Tell your story. He did, voice cracking over the line. Dad had left him for Mom, for the church, burying his truth under sermons. Betrayal layered on betrayal. I was ready, almost, but Micah changed everything. Run with me, he said one frosty dawn, breath clouding. To Chicago, with Ethan. Temptation clawed. But no, not yet. Revenge first. The church's Christmas pageant loomed. Dad's crowning glory. That's when I'd strike. Quiet, devastating. But fate twisted. Mom found my phone, the photos glaring. Jake? What is this? Her voice broke, face ashen. Dad burst in, eyes wild. Treason. From my own blood. The storm hit. Accusations flying. Me, the spy in their midst. They didn't know about Micah, not yet. But as they raged, I stood tall, dossier in hand. You want truth? Here it is. Pages scattered like confetti, lies exposed. Dad crumpled, a giant felled. Mom wept, silent no more. In the chaos, Micah's truck roared up the drive. Ethan in the passenger seat. My brother, home. Heard enough, Ethan said, voice steel. Time to end this. The family fractured. But in the wreckage, we stood me, Ethan, Micah. Bound by love's quiet fire. Revenge tasted bittersweet. But freedom? That was the real dawn. The snow fell thicker that Christmas Eve, blanketing Willow Creek in a hush that mocked our unraveling home. Dad slumped in his armchair, the Bible open but unread on his lap, its pages fluttering like trapped birds in the draft from the cracked window. Mom hovered in the kitchen, her hands raw from scrubbing counters that would never be clean enough, whispering prayers that sounded more like pleas for erasure. Ethan and I sat on the threadbare couch, Micah's presence a warm anchor beside me. His knee pressed steady against mine under the Afghan we'd pulled over our laps. The air hummed with unspoken accusations, the dossier's papers still scattered across the coffee table like shrapnel from a bomb I'd detonated. You think this changes anything? Dad finally rasped, his voice a ghost of the thunder that once filled pews. He jabbed a finger at the letters, the ones with Robert's elegant script curling like smoke. That was youth. Sin, yes, but repented. I chose God. Chose this family. His eyes, red-rimmed, flicked to Ethan, then away, as if looking too long might burn. Ethan, leaner now from city life, but with that same defiant spark in his blue eyes, leaned forward. Chose us? You threw me out like trash for the same sin. Hypocrite doesn't cover it, Dad. It's poison. I squeezed Ethan's hand under the blanket, a silent I've got you. Months of stolen glances and hidden touches with Micah had taught me the power of quiet solidarity, the way love could be a rebellion without a single shout. Micah stayed silent, his green eyes scanning the room like he was mapping exits, but his thumb traced circles on my knuckles, grounding me. We'd driven through the night from Chicago after Ethan's frantic call to Micah's burner. Found the letters online. Coming home, the reunion on the porch had been wordless. Ethan's arms crushing me, tears freezing on our cheeks. Micah watching with that soft smile that made my chest ache. Mom broke the silence with a sob, sinking to the floor amid pie tins and wrapping paper shreds. Robert, I knew, from the start. He told me before the wedding, said he'd changed. Her voice cracked, unraveling years of composure. I thought love meant forgiveness, but I let you preach hate, David. To our boys. Dad's face twisted rage, shame, a father's crumbling facade. He rose, unsteady, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd strike. Instead, he staggered to the window, staring at the white void outside. What now? Ruin me? The church? This town'll eat us alive. That's the point, I said, voice steady for the first time. You ruined Ethan. Almost ruined me. Hiding who I am. The words hung, heavy as the storm. Dad whirled, confusion sharpening to horror. You? No. You're my boy. Straight as an arrow. Laughter bubbled in my throat, bitter and freeing. Micah's grip tightened, a promise. Love isn't a choice, Dad. Or a sin. It's just us. Ethan nodded, his sketchbook clutched like a shield. He'd brought it. Pages filled with Chicago's grit and grace. Portraits of lovers hand in hand that now felt prophetic. The night fractured into fragments. Dad retreating to his study, door locked. Mom brewing endless tea, her apologies a litany. Ethan and I raiding the attic for old photos, piecing together a childhood we'd romanticized. Micah pulled me aside in the mudroom, coats muffling our words. You okay? His breath was warm on my neck, hands framing my face. I nodded, but the truth spilled. Scared. This was supposed to be clean, expose, leave. Now it's family. He kissed my forehead, soft as snowfall. Family's messy, but worth it. Like us. The word bloomed, romantic and terrifying. A future sketched in stolen moments. Dawn crept in gray, the pageant bells tolling from the church steeple. Dad emerged, hollow-eyed, demanding we attend. Show unity. Irony dripped like icicles. We went, the four of us in the family pew. Micah introduced as a friend from the mill. Whispers rippled. Where's the other boy? Trouble in the Hale house. Dad ascended the pulpit, voice cracking on the first verse of Silent Night. His sermon veered, no fire this time, just a halting confession. We've all fallen short, judged when we should love, cast out when we should embrace. Gasps echoed. The mayor shifted uncomfortably. Ethan gripped my hand, tears tracing silent paths. Was this redemption or deflection? After, in the fellowship hall, chaos brewed. Elder Thompson cornered Dad, Bible thumping like a gavel. David, those rumors, your boy, the letters. This town's built on trust. Mom stepped forward, chin high for the first time. Trust? Like the collection plate funding your affairs, Elder? Gasps multiplied. I tipped her off to that thread too. A quiet aside in the kitchen. The hall buzzed, alliances fracturing like thin ice. Micah steered us out, into the crisp air, Ethan's laughter breaking free, nervous, triumphant. Did you see his face? Like he'd swallowed a lemon. We piled into Micah's truck, heater blasting, heading to the quarry for privacy. Bottles clinked. Non-alcoholic cider, Ethan's city habit, and stories flowed. Ethan sketched us by firelight, Micah's profile sharp against the flames, my head on his shoulder. You too. It's real, Ethan said, pencil pausing. Promise you'll fight for it. Micah met my eyes, the fire dancing in his. Every day. The kiss that followed was deeper, laced with the night's adrenaline, but tender. No rush, just the romance of two souls sinking in the wild. Ethan hooped, tossing a snowball. Brothers, lovers, survivors. But Willow Creek doesn't forgive easy. Days blurred into a siege. Anonymous calls, Dad's deaconship revoked, job offers drying up at the mill. I worked doubles, cash stashed for escape. Micah and I dreamed aloud. Chicago apartment, art studio for Ethan, me in trade school for carpentry. Build something solid, he'd say, hands over mine on a practice joint. Love deepened in the margins. Notes in lunch pails, drives to forgotten barns where we'd dance to radio static, bodies close but chaste, hearts entwined. Betrayal struck on a sleet-lashed January night. I'd left the dossier's copy in the truck, careless, exhausted. Dad found it, rifling through glove box in a haze of bourbon. He confronted me in the barn, lantern swinging shadows like accusations. You leaked to the elders? My own son. Spittle flew, eyes wild. I did it for love. I shot back. For Ethan. For the boy I almost lost because of you. He lunged, Not to hit, but to grab my collar, desperation raw. You're like him. Twisted. I'll save you. Send you to conversion camp. Horror iced my veins. Micah burst in then, Ethan behind, having tailed him from the house. Touch him and you're done. Micah growled, stance wide. Dad deflated, slumping against hay bales. What have I wrought? Sobs racked him, a preacher unmade. Ethan knelt, tentative. A chance, Dad, to change. Forgiveness? Not yet, but the seed cracked soil. Mom arrived, coat dusted white, pulling us into a huddle. Enough. We're leaving. All of us. Her voice brooked no argument. Springfield to Roberts, a fresh start. Radical, humanistic grace. The road north was fraught. Blizzards, breakdowns, Dad's silence await. We stopped in a roadside diner. Neon buzzing open 24/7. Pancakes steaming under fluorescent hum. Micah's hand found mine under the table. Ethan's foot nudged mine. Family, redefined. Robert waited at journey's end. A quiet man with Dad's eyes. Forgiveness in his handshake. Welcome home, he said simply. Spring thawed the fields, but our wounds lingered. Dad sought counseling, not conversion, real work with a queer-affirming pastor. Mom volunteered at a shelter, her pies feeding the displaced. Ethan enrolled in art school, sketches turning to murals of reclaimed stories. Micah and I, we built a tiny house on Robert's land, walls rising with each hammered nail. Love was our blueprint. Mornings tangled in sheets, lazy, affectionate. Evenings on the porch, stars winking approval. No grand gestures, just the romance of everyday. Coffee shared, dreams voiced, bodies known in gentle exploration. Yet conflict simmered. Town gossip reached even Springfield. Hate mail arrived, Dad's old flock bang. One night, a brick through our window, sinner scrawled in red. Micah held me as glass crunched underfoot. We fight smart, he said. Ethan organized the exhibit. Hidden truths, portraits of us, Dad and Robert hand in hand, raw and unapologetic. The opening drew protesters, but more allies. Locals, online shares, a ripple of change. Climax crested in summer, a town hall back in Willow Creek. Dad invited to speak. We drove, nerves electric. The room packed, tension thick as humidity. Dad stood, voice steady. I was the hypocrite. Cast out my son for what I buried in myself. Love wins, not with stones but stories. Applause mixed with jeers, but Ethan's mural projection silenced them. Colors exploding, lives affirmed. I met Micah's eyes across the aisle. Love a quiet anchor. Betrayal's sting faded. Humanity prevailed. Summer's heat wave clung to Springfield like a fever dream. The air thick with cicada hum and the scent of cut grass from Robert's sprawling yard. Our little house stood sentinel at the edge of it all. A modest A-frame we'd raised beam by beam. Micah's carpentry skills turning my amateur swings into something sturdy, symbolic. Inside, walls bore Ethan's murals. Vibrant swirls of blue and gold capturing lake sunsets. Intertwined hands fading into city skylines. A testament to roots reclaimed. But peace was fragile. A veneer over the fault lines we'd unearthed. Dad's transformation was halting, therapy sessions twice weekly. A support group for fathers of the lost, where he'd share halting tales of his youth with Robert, voice cracking on memories of stolen kisses in college dorms. I ran from love, he'd admit, eyes on his weathered hands. Thought God demanded it. But God is love. Mom thrived in her quiet revolution. Her auxiliary days swapped for shelter shifts, where she'd dole out not just meals but listening ears to runaways like Ethan once was. Everyone's got a story worth hearing, she'd say. Flower-dusted apron tied tight. Ethan, ever the artist, channeled pain into purpose. His exhibit toured small towns, hidden truths sparking dialogues in libraries and cafes. It's not revenge anymore, he told me over late-night sketches, pencil flying. It's revelation. Micah and I, our love deepened in the soil of normalcy. Mornings with coffee on the porch swing, his head on my shoulder as we watched dew burn off the fields. Evenings grilling burgers, Robert joining with tales of 70s activism, his laugh a bridge across decades. Intimacy grew tender, exploratory. Hands mapping scars, whispers mapping dreams, always respectful, always rooted in the emotional terrain we traversed. But Willow Creek's shadow loomed long. The hate mail escalated. Typescreeds quoting Leviticus, anonymous threats scrawled on our mailbox. Abomination returns. Dad bore the brunt. His phone ringing with old parishioners demanding repentance or resignation from the interfaith council he joined. They see me as the devil now, he confessed one dusk, fishing pole idle in his lap by the creek. I sat beside him, the water gurgling secrets. Or the mirror. You forced them to look. He nodded, a ghost of a smile. Proud of you, son, for staying, for seeing. The words mended something ancient. A boy's longing for approval twisted into manhood's grace. Micah sensed the storm brewing first. Something's off, he'd murmur during our drives to the hardware store, his truck rumbling over potholes. Your old man's jumpy. And he was pacing at night, Bible open to Psalms but unread. Turns out, Elder Thompson, that sanctimonious goat with his ledger of sins, had slithered into town. Not for reconciliation, but retrieval. A folder of evidence against Dad. Twisted tales to the press, aiming to bury him in scandal. He wants the church back, Dad explained, face ashen. Says my confession poisoned the flock. Threatens to expose everything to you boys. Rage flared, hot and immediate. Let him. But Micah pulled me close that night, his embrace a bomb. Not like this. We fight clean. Ethan rallied, proposing a counter. A public forum, truths laid bare before venom could spread. We planned in Robert's kitchen, maps and timelines spread like battle strategies, humanistic warfare, words as weapons. Love fueled it. Micah's steady gaze across the table, Ethan's fierce grin, even Dad's quiet resolve. Mom baked lemon bars, her way of arming us. The betrayal hit like lightning on a clear day. 2 nights before the forum, I found Dad in the study, our study now shared with Robert's books, a letter trembling in his grip. Not from Thompson, but Micah. Jake, I'm sorry. Thompson offered cash. Enough to start fresh, away from this mess. I took it. For us. Don't hate me. My world tilted, knees buckling against the desk. Micah, my rock, the one who'd kissed away doubts, built walls with me, literal and figurative. The note was dated yesterday, his truck gone from the drive. Ethan found me there, curled like a question mark. What? His voice pulled me up. The letter passed like poison. We tore through his things. Duffel half-packed, a bus ticket stub to Denver stubbed in his wallet. Calls went to voicemail, texts unread. Why? Ethan seethed, pacing. Money? After all this? Dad entered, eyes shadowed. Son. I saw him with Thompson. At the diner. Didn't want to believe. The pieces slotted. Micah's recent overtime. The way he'd press for details on the dossier. His questions about Dad's finances too pointed. Had he been playing me? Gathering for Thompson. A double agent in flannel? Heart shredded. I drove to Willow Creek alone. Sleet slashing the windshield. Confronting the elder in his dim parlor. Ruiz? Fine boy. Offered to help clear the air. For a price. Thompson's smirk curdled milk. Your man's greedy. Like all sinners. Back home. Collapse. Sobs racking, Ethan's arms my only tether. He loved you, Ethan insisted, but doubt gnawed. Love? Or leverage? The forum loomed, now a crucible. Dad stepped up, voice iron. We go. Without him. Show them strength. Robert nodded, hand on Dad's shoulder. A quiet romance rekindled, their glances speaking volumes. Mom pressed my hand. Betrayal cuts deep, Jake, but it doesn't define you. Forum night crackled with tension, the community center packed. Willow Creek exiles rubbing shoulders with Springfield skeptics. Thompson arrived smug, folder fat with fabrications. Dad opened, unflinching. I've sinned, judged harshly, but love, my son's my own, teaches mercy. Ethan projected slides. Letters, timelines, not to condemn but contextualize. Hypocrisy hurts, but healing starts with truth. Murmurs swelled. A woman in the back wept openly. Then the door banged. Micah, disheveled, eyes haunted. Stop! He strode forward, voice breaking. I didn't sell you out. Gasps rippled. He dumped a satchel, recordings of Thompson's bribes, not to Dad, but to silence him. Took the meat to flip it. Got proof he's the one skimming tithes, harassing families. My heart stuttered, betrayal inverted. A ploy born of love. Couldn't tell you, he pleaded, eyes locking mine. Too dangerous. Thought you'd stop me. Relief crashed, fury chasing. I hauled him outside, fists balled but falling empty. Idiot. We do this together. His kiss was desperate, salty with tears. Romance reborn in revelation. Inside, chaos erupted. Thompson exposed, fleeing amid shouts. Cops called, arrests pending. The crowd shifted, claps for Dad, hugs for Ethan. Humanistic triumph. Not destruction, but dialogue. Micah and I emerged, hands linked, the night air sweet with rain scent. Never again, I whispered. He nodded, phoenix tattoo gleaming under streetlight. Fall painted the leaves gold, wounds scabbing to scars. Micah's betrayal became legend. Our inside joke, retold over beers with Robert and Dad. Laughter healing what lectures couldn't. Ethan's art soared, a gallery show in Chicago beckoning. Mom and Dad? They married quietly, Robert and Dad exchanging vows in a backyard ceremony. Simple bands glinting. Second chances, Dad toasted, eyes on me. Love, in all its forms, wove us tighter. But climax whispered on winter's edge. Thompson, out on bail, rallied holdouts. A midnight rally at the old church, torches flickering like mob justice. Whispers reached us. Targets painted on our house, Ethan's studio. They're coming, Micah said, voice grim. We barricaded, calling allies, sheriff, press. The night air crackled as trucks rumbled up, shadows massing. Dad stepped out, lantern high. Enough, brothers, lay down hate. His voice carried, preacher's timbre unbroken. Thompson sneered from the crowd. Traitor! Shouts rose, but Ethan climbed the porch, megaphone in hand. Look! He unveiled a banner. Portraits of us all, unified. Flashbulbs popped, reporters' eye tipped. The mob faltered, torches guttering. One by one, they dispersed, Thompson last, handcuffs glinting as sheriff's lights bathed him. Climax crested not in violence, but vulnerability. Hate meeting its match in unyielding love. Winter's grip loosened grudgingly that year, ice cracking on the creek like brittle apologies, giving way to mud-season slush that sucked at boots and soles alike. Springfield's interfaith council swelled, Dad's voice now a bridge rather than a battering ram, hosting forums where queer youth shared stories under fluorescent hum, their words chipping at decades of doctrine. Redemption isn't a sermon, he'd say, sleeves rolled, coffee-stained mug in hand. It's showing up. Mom's shelter expanded, a bunkhouse edition funded by exhibit proceeds. Ethan's touch, murals of hope splashed across cinder-block walls. Safe harbors, he called them, sketching late into nights, his boyfriend. A lanky sculptor named Theo, perched nearby, clay-smudged fingers intertwined with his. Micah and I settled into rhythm, our A-frame a sanctuary of scuffed floors and half-read books. Mornings meant lazy awakenings, sunlight slanting through pine blinds to trace the curve of his shoulder. I'd watch him sleep, chest rising steady. The phoenix tattoo a reminder of risings we'd earned. Love manifested in the mundane. Him teaching me dovetail joints in the shed, sawdust in our hair. Me surprising him with lake picnics, sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, the water lapping like whispered promises. No grand eros, just the deep romance of compatibility. Shared silences, inside jokes about Thompson's scowl, futures sketched on napkins over diner pie. Chicago? He'd muse, fork poised. Or here, roots deep? I'd grin. Wherever. With you. Ethan's gallery call came in April, a whirlwind packing. Canvases rolled, Theo's sculptures crated. Our goodbyes tear-streaked but joyful. Visit, he demanded at the bus station, hugging fierce. And bring Micah. Theo wants to collab on that Phoenix piece. Dad clapped his back, pride shining. Make us proud, son. The bus pulled away, exhaust curling like farewell smoke, leaving a hollow but hopeful ache. Willow Creek faded to a scar, its toxins neutralized by distance and discourse. Dad and Robert's marriage bloomed quietly. Garden tended together, hands soil darkened. Their evenings filled with jazz records spinning tales of what-ifs turned real. Love late is love found, Robert quipped, winking at me over dinner. Yet undercurrents stirred. Thompson's trial loomed. A media circus with national eyes on our scandal family. Reporters camped Robert's drive. Mics thrust like spears. Reverend, regret your past? Dad faced them unflinching, Mom at his side. Regret? Yes. But more, I regret the silence. Micah shielded me from the fray, our walks veering to back roads, boots crunching gravel. You're quiet, he'd note, arms slung casual. I'd confess the gnaw. What if it's not enough? What if hate wins? His halt, turn, hands cupping my face, green eyes fierce. It won't, because we won't let it. The kiss grounded, romantic in its reassurance. A vow renewed. Climax echoed Thompson's sentencing in June. Courthouse steps swarmed under relentless sun. We sat front row. Dad testifying, voice measured. Ethan via video, art as evidence of harm's ripple. Thompson glowered from the dock, emaciated. His flock dwindled to echoes. Guilty, the judge intoned. Embezzlement, harassment, a litany of falls. As cuffs clicked, he lunged verbal. You'll burn, hail, all of you abominations. Chaos erupted, shouts, flashes. But Micah's hand in mine anchored. Ethan's face on the screen resolute. Outside, victory tasted metallic. Hugs from allies, a rainbow flag waved by a teen from the shelter. Humanistic justice. Not vengeance, but vindication. The town's slow thaw beginning with handshakes over headlines. Summer solstice brought renewal. A backyard barbecue, grills smoking with ribs and revelation. Theo arrived with Ethan, crates unpacked, the Phoenix sculpture unveiled. Wings spanning the yard, flames licking toward stars. For risings, Ethan toasted, glass raised. Dad and Robert danced slow under string lights, Mom laughing as she spun with a shelter kid. Micah pulled me aside, to the creek's edge, fireflies pulsing like heartbeats. Marry me, not a ring but a carved box, walnut, our first joint project, holding a simple band, etched with Phoenix. Tears blurred. Yes, God yes. Laughter bubbled, kiss deepening under moon's benevolent gaze. Romantic, eternal, the emotional crescendo of our odyssey. Fall harvested abundance. Wedding small, lakeside, vows exchanged with water lapping witness. In shadows you found light, Micah said, voice husky. In you I found home. Ethan officiated, sketchpad tucked under arm, Theo grinning beside. Dad's blessing. Love as I learn it daily, fierce, forgiving. Honeymoon was a road trip, cornfields to canyons, Route 60 SIXS ghosts yielding to our story. Stops at diners, motels with neon hearts, nights tangled in wonder, affection a language honed. Years layered like varnish. Chicago for us, gallery thriving, Micah's firm booming with sustainable builds. Visits home. Dad's sermons now on inclusion, pews diverse. Mom's shelter a beacon. Ethan's murals graced subways. Theo's sculptures parks. Betrayals? Faded footnotes. Lessons in trust's fragility and strength. One quiet Christmas, snow soft, we gathered. Extended now with partners, a niece from Ethan's circle. Dad raised glass. To staying, to proof, to quiet revenges that bloom into peace. Humanity's arc bent gentle. Willow Creek's church hung Ethan's portrait series. Reclaimed, a quiet revolution. Thompson, paroled early, letters arriving, penitent, seeking amends. Dad replied, no rush to forgive, but door cracked. Life's drama wove on, losses, like Robert's quiet passing, heart-failing mid-laugh. Gains, like Micah's proposal to Theo for collab on a monument to the kicked out. Through it, love endured. Micah's hand in mine at gravesides, Ethan's call at dawn with news of exhibits. In the end, revenge proved illusion, truth's quiet work sufficed. We stayed, not for proof, but presence. Brothers bound, loves intertwined, a family forged in fire's afterglow. Under Illinois stars, eternal as grace we rose, Phoenix is all.